Welcome back. My name is Patrick Nolan. I'm an attorney licensed in the state of Missouri. This is Pat Talks Law. Wow. So, this weekend, I went camping with Boy Scouts. We went to the Klondike Derby in Macon, Missouri. I suffered through a miserable night on the ground in the cold to teach my son that if you don't use a sleeping pad, you're going to suffer through a miserable night on the ground in the cold. I was fully prepared to let him go without a sleeping pad. However, I wound up not having one either because he decided that he was going to pull mine out of our packing plan. Because we didn't need it. That night, on the ground in the cold, he realized that our cold threat wasn't the air. It was the ground. And a sleeping pad would have insulated us. I don't think I'm going to get a hard time from him next time I want to bring our sleeping bags on our camp. And that's the essence of what this blog is about. You have to recognize the threat. And when it comes to marijuana legalization, medical marijuana, we've spent a lot of time talking about the various rules and what people can and can't do under the guidelines. And we've discussed that it is a political measure to change the law. What we haven't really discussed is identifying the threat to your medical marijuana and to the legalization process. Is your threat the local sheriff or the local police chief? Is your threat the local probation officer? Is it the municipality in which you live, with city code deciding that they're going to rule your ability to home cultivate out? Is it the busybody neighbor? We all have a different threat if you're going to partake in medical marijuana. If you're on probation, your PO and your judge are your threat. While our medical marijuana constitutional amendment declared that you have a right to use medical marijuana, that has not been followed uniformly throughout our court system. People in one area of Missouri are getting very different response and results than people in another area of Missouri. Some probationers are being allowed to use their medical marijuana, and some probationers are being denied. Some people are being placed on pretrial supervision to release them from custody, and they're being denied access to medical marijuana. And that creates a problem. So their threat is the local court system, the judge, the PO. Some people are growing in their basement. Identify their threat. Their threat is the busybody neighbor. The person who sees them bringing in grow lights and realizes that this guy's never had a garden in his life. Again, different threats. So when they turn him in for growing marijuana and the police show up, police might do their investigation beforehand. What's the power consumption of this property? Has it changed? Is the power consumption high enough to warrant the belief that there's grow lights being used? They hit the house with a thermal camera. Is there a hot spot? Again, indicative of a grow room. And there may well be. We don't know. But during the course of that investigation, law enforcement's going to make a conclusion and might even go get a warrant. The question is are they going to check with the state and see if there is a cultivation license at that address? I don't know. So this person might get raided. You know, because based upon their training and experience, when you have people that are manufacturing marijuana, you have people who have firearms and guns, so they need to do a no-knock raid to be safe. And to time it right, they're going to do it at 2 o'clock in the morning. Because that's when people are asleep. And look, really, I mean, I am, and, you know, some of you probably are, but a lot of you probably aren't. So that's your threat, man. So what do? Do you be overly open and let all your neighbors know that you're growing medical marijuana? You know, and then what, are you going to talk to them about what your medical condition is? Or how are you going to handle it? Well, when the police come and they kick in your door, you should handle it intelligently. Follow their instructions so you don't get fucking shot. And answer no questions. But for the average person, you're driving from Kansas City to St. Louis. You get pulled over and a police officer says, "I smell marijuana." Okay? Now he wants to haul you out and search you. What do? Do you volunteer that you have a medical marijuana card? Well, that might be a good idea. It might not. You know, there's been a resurgence since the Forbes article reminding people of Pot Brothers at Law's sage advice. Don't say anything. This guy is doing 40 fucking miles an hour in a Lord Almighty. So, yeah. You know, if you follow Pot Brothers at Law advice, then you ask the police officer, "Why'd you pull me over?" When they start asking you what you're doing, where you're going, you know, you follow their script. By the way, it's copyrighted. I'm not going to try and violate their copyright, but, you know, I'm not going to talk about my day. I would recommend you watch their site, watch their channel. It's great. These guys are hilarious. Are you detaining me? Am I free to go? And then you invoke your Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. Now, we've talked about this in the past. Why do you have to invoke your Fifth Amendment right to remain silent? Because there is a court case, a Supreme Court case, that simply says remaining silent doesn't cut it. Okay. Now you go through all that. The officer already told you he smells marijuana in your car. You've got a medical marijuana card. Maybe you got some weed in the car. You have a medical marijuana card. Show them the card. If it's your weed, okay, and under the legal limit, show them the card and say it's mine. can have up to 8 ounces. Now, if you are a home cultivator, you can have 12 ounces. But realistically, if you are running around with a half a pound of marijuana, they're going to take it, they're going to arrest you, and they're going to sort it out in court. I understand. You want the fight. I'm telling you, stay out of jail. You don't need to run around with a half pound of weed most times. There may be a time you need to. Look, dispensary's having a sale. You just bought it from your connection who's selling out because he's quitting the business. There may be a reason for you to have a half pound of marijuana. But you don't need to run around with all your weed on you at all the time. Man, get yourself a safe or some shit for the house. So again, you're on the side of the road, that police officer is your threat. How do you neutralize that threat? Do you share a little bit of information with him? Yes, I have a medical marijuana card. I have some medical marijuana in the car. That's probably what you're smelling. Or, you know, do you remain silent and say nothing? I got to tell you, if you're a criminal, you remain silent, you say nothing, your defense attorney will thank you. Anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. If you're not a criminal, you should remain silent and say nothing, because anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. And that is how innocent people go to jail. As part of their investigation, if the officer says he smells marijuana, he should be asking if anybody has a medical marijuana card. Here's the tip. Keep your medical marijuana with you. Don't put it in a bag or a jacket in the back seat next to somebody who doesn't have a medical marijuana card. Your hardworking, enterprising police officer may decide that that is their jacket, not your jacket. Or that is their bag, not your bag. And then y'all go into prison, or y'all go into jail anyway while it gets sorted out. So, you gotta be smart. You know, back in the day before medical marijuana, you know, guys would keep a female denim jacket 2 or 3 sizes smaller than theirs, so they couldn't even put it on if they wanted to. You put your weed in that, throw it in the back seat, and then if the officer says something, you're like, look, I picked up this chick last night, she left her jacket in the car. I don't know what's in it. I've seen that used. Possession requires knowledge and control. If you don't know it's there, you can't control it. So, things can be done. You've identified the threat, you know where you're going, you know what's happening. Now, think about your approaches and how you're going to respond to things. You need to do that before you have the incident you're concerned about. Okay? You think your PO and your judge are going to have a problem with you having a medical marijuana card? Talk to them. If your PO okays you to use marijuana because you have a medical marijuana card, okay. He's probably not gonna violate you for it. But again, talk to him. Don't broadcast signs all over your neighborhood. Hey, I grew weed here. Okay? Some operational security is probably a good thing. busybody neighbor, she's going to be convinced that if you're growing marijuana at home for your cancer treatment, that her door is going to get kicked down by a Colombian drug cartel, and they're going to slowly torture her to death because you had a joint, man. I don't know how you can talk to her. Maybe you need to get her own card, calm her down. But you need to be planning. Keep a low profile. Make sure that you've got your paperwork available. You should never have medical marijuana with you without a copy of your card attached to the medical marijuana. Same thing if you're cultivating at home. On the locked door going into the room, you should have a sign that says, access to this room is strictly prohibited. Cite the regulation. You know, put a copy of your cultivation card and your patient card on the door. If you're a caregiver, your caregiver card, your patient's card, cultivation license, put it on the door, so that they have to look at it before they go through that door. And that is an entry you have to report. So make sure that you track all of this. Think about those threats. Cop on the side of the road, he's a threat. Think about how you're going to handle it. You may want to answer no questions at all. You might want to advise him that you have a medical marijuana card. Look, this is up to you. If you've got 18 felonies, then don't say jack. You've been down this road. You know what happens. Do you have a medical marijuana card? And the police officer asks you, do you have a medical marijuana card? Say yes. You have one. All right. That's it. I've been rambling long enough. I appreciate you sticking with me. Identify your threats. Plan for the threats that you're likely to face. It doesn't make you crazy. It makes you smart. Hit like, subscribe. We'll be talking to you again soon.